The Nintendo Switch is no doubt one of the most successful consoles ever made. And because of the fact that the console has lasted for almost 8 years, I can definitely see Nintendo making a follow-up console to the Switch, since there are rumors that the Switch 2 may come out in 2025. Now, despite this big rumor that Nintendo may release the Switch successor by March of 2025, which would be 8 years after the OG Switch came out, what if it got delayed? What if, let's say, that the Switch 2 gets announced at June of 2025, then they reveal the full name of the new console and confirm its release date on September 2025? Well, if that's the case, assuming that the Switch 2 comes out on September 2025, I'm going to predict what kind of games may come out for the new console during its first 5 years of its lifespan. Even though this might age really badly as the years go on. But let's get to it! Firstly, before I predict the Switch 2 games that may come out, I'm going to predict what OG Switch games may come out for the final year of the current Switch, before its successor comes out. Don't worry guys, I promise you, we'll get to the Switch 2 section soon enough. First half of 2025. So we already know what Switch games are coming out in 2025, which are Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, Pokemon Legends ZA, and Metroid Prime 4, which I believe may be the final first-party Switch game to wrap up the console in time to transition to the Switch successor. But what if I told you that the Switch still has some life left, and that they still release new games for the current Switch? Well, that's what I'm going to go over right now. Starting off with a new Mario Baseball game. Now, Mario Baseball still hasn't came back on the Switch, and it's the only Mario sports game that still hasn't returned. I mean, Mario Strikers came back on the Switch after a 15-year hiatus, which is Battle League, but we still do not have a Mario Baseball. Like, where is it, Nintendo? The last Mario Baseball game that ever came out was Super Sluggers on the Wii, which is back in 2008. So we haven't gotten a new Mario Baseball game for 16 damn years. So I'd say it's about time that they announce one for the next Nintendo Direct in September and have it come out on February 2025. Next up is F-Zero GX Remastered. Now I know that F-Zero technically came back on the Switch, which is F-Zero 99, but I just got bored of it after playing for a few hours. So to have F-Zero fans rejoice, we're getting an F-Zero GX Remastered in full HD on the Switch. That would truly make F-Zero fans more happy. I'd buy this game the moment it gets announced and then comes out.
Shut up and take my money!
Next up is Star Fox Assault HD. Yes, we're getting more remasters at this point instead of full new games. Now, if I were to pick which Star Fox game would get remade, it would be Assault. Yes, I know that Zero is highly requested to get ported to the Switch, but after many years of waiting, I'm starting to doubt that it will happen. So I'm going for Star Fox Assault HD. Coming up next is Kid Icarus Uprising HD. Now, since the original game came out back in 2012 on the 3DS, I've been hoping for an HD port of Uprising, but so far we haven't gotten one yet. The HD port doesn't have to be made by Masahiro Sakurai. They could just have another company to port Uprising to the Switch. At least that's how I see it. P.S. Please bring back Kid Icarus Uprising on the Switch, Nintendo. I'm begging you. Next up is Metroid Prime 2 and 3 Remastered. Now, only the first Metroid Prime game got ported to Switch, but Prime 2 and 3 are missing. The way I see it is that they re-released Prime 2 and 3 in like a double pack right before Prime 4 comes out. Kinda like how they re-released Pikmin 1 and 2 in a double pack like a month prior to the release of Pikmin 4. Next up is a Fire Emblem 4 remake on Switch, aka Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War remake. I don't have much to say about this, but Fire Emblem hardly has any remakes. So if we're getting another Fire Emblem remake, it would definitely be Genealogy of the Holy War. Next up is a Xenoblade Warriors game. Now how cool would it be if we got a Warriors hack and slash game for Xenoblade Chronicles? The Xenoblade Warriors game will have characters from every Xenoblade game, which are Xenoblade 1, X, 2, and 3. And Shulk, Rex, Pyra, Mithra, Noah, and Mio, and all the other Xenoblade characters will be playable. But there will be some new original characters that may debut in Xenoblade Warriors. I mean, you see this all the time with every new game introducing original characters. Xenoblade Warriors will be out on June of 2025, which is one of the last Switch 1 titles before the Switch 2 comes out. And last but not least is Tomodachi Life on Switch. Like, where the heck is it, Nintendo? Again, I don't have much to say about this, but if Miitopia can come to Switch, so can Tomodachi Life. Okay, so now we're going to predict Switch 2 games that may come out. So let's get into it. 2025. First up is Metroid Prime 4. Now this will be a cross-gen game, with Metroid Prime 4 releasing on both the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, with Prime 4 being one of the last titles for the OG Switch, and it being a launch title for the Switch 2. And it will come out on September 2025, which is the same month that the Switch 2 releases. One of the launch titles for the Switch 2 is a new 3D Mario game. And yes, it will be a fully open world game, with it being a lot larger than Mario Odyssey. Sorry guys, but I gave up hope for an Odyssey 2. But I believe that this next 3D Mario game will have some elements borrowed from Odyssey and Bowser's Fury. Trust me, it will be a massive open world Mario game. They might have the game finished in development by now and are ready to announce it during the Switch 2 presentation direct. And it will come out during the holiday season of 2025, just in time for Mario's 40th anniversary. Next on the list is an ARMS 2. I mean, what's been going on with ARMS? Like, the last time we got something ARMS related was Min Min in Smash Ultimate back in 2020, and she would later receive her own amiibo in 2022. But that was it. Throughout these years, no sequel. So I believe they're saving it for the Switch 2, and let's hope that Nintendo hasn't forgotten about the IP, even though it's not as popular as Splatoon. 2026. Okay, so one of the first Switch 2 games coming out in 2026 is a brand new Mario Kart game. Now, considering the fact that 8 Deluxe is a Wii U port, which the original came out in 2014, we have been playing the same Mario Kart for over 10 years. And I don't see a brand new Mario Kart game coming out until the next console, since 8 Deluxe sold incredibly well, and it would make total sense for a new Mario Kart to come out on the next console. The game will be out on February 2026. Next up is a new Kirby game, a new Animal Crossing game, and also a new Donkey Kong game. And yes, I'm only talking about first-party games here. So for those expecting third-party games to show up on this list, sorry, but not for this video. The new Kirby game will launch in March of 2026, while a new Animal Crossing will come out in May, and a new Donkey Kong game will be out in the summer of 2026. Coming up next is a brand new Super Smash Bros. Game. The new Smash game will be revealed during the March 2026 Nintendo Direct as a One More Thing stuff. They show off the new trailer, and Waluigi is one of the first newcomers to join the roster, and it reveals a Smash logo. The game will then be released on December 2026. However, because of the immense amount of newcomers being added to the game, the new Smash game will be delayed from December 2026 to June of 2027. Next up is a Pokemon Gen 10 game on the Switch 2. Almost forgot to mention it, but yeah. The Pokemon Gen 10 game will be out on September 2026. Usually a new Pokemon generation game will come out every 3 years, but this time, let's give them some more time to make the next mainline Pokemon game to be perfect. But maybe not, because of a few glitches. Unlike the initial launch of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which was such a buggy mess. Thankfully, I bought the game at least a year after it came out, so I didn't have to experience that buggy mess. And also in Gen 10, they're gonna add 100 new Pokemon, which would make 1125 Pokemon in total as of Gen 10 of Pokemon. Unless if you also include Legends EA as well, which may introduce a few new Pokemon in that game. 2027. What better way to start off the year by adding GameCube Switch 2 Online? And yes, the Switch 2 is powerful enough to run GameCube games pretty well because it's a lot more powerful than the regular Switch. Not only are we getting Switch 2 Online with GameCube being added to the service, but we're also getting Nintendo DS Switch 2 Online as well. And how they'll handle DS Switch 2 Online is that since the DS has two screens, they'll emulate the touchscreen by using the right stick to control the cursor around the touchscreen, and clicking on the right stick to touch the bottom screen, or using a gyro pointer. Or if you're playing in handheld mode, you can touch the screen on the bottom screen. That also works. And since some DS games involve using a mic, the Switch 2's controllers would also have a mic as well. The GameCube and DS Switch 2 Online will release at the start of the year, which is in January. I hope you look forward to playing Wind Waker and Smash Melee on the GameCube Switch 2 Online, as well as DS games like New Super Mario Bros. Or Mario Kart DS. We're also going to be getting a new WarioWare game on the Switch 2. The Mario games will mostly involve using the new buttons that are added to the Switch 2's Joy-Cons or Pro Controller, such as the addition of back buttons and also analog triggers. Or they'll have some of them require motion controls. Not sure if you're a fan of motion controls though. 2027 will also see the release of a Pokken Tournament 2. They'll have all the characters from Pokken DX to return to the sequel, as well as new Pokemon characters being added, such as the additions from Gen 8 and Gen 9. Next up is my favorite part of this video, a Princess Peach Showtime sequel in all its glory. The sequel would only come out 3 years after the original Princess Peach Showtime, and also since I don't feel like explaining what a Princess Peach Showtime 2 would be like, since that would make the video even longer, I have a separate video explaining all about it if you haven't seen it already. So go check it out before coming back to this video. Thanks. So imagine this. It's June 2027, and Nintendo finally released Super Smash Bros. 6 with at least 100 characters in the roster, plus more DLC as the months and years go on after the release of Smash 6. And I'm not gonna go over which characters will be in the roster of Smash 6, cause that will take even longer to finish this video. So I'll make a separate video explaining what the roster for Smash 6 will be like later on. We're also gonna see a release of Splatoon 4 on the Switch 2, coming out on August of 2027. A month prior to the release of Splatoon 4, they will have a Splatfest world premiere, and they will still have 3 sides to choose from in a Splatfest, just like in Splatoon 3. Next up, we're getting Wii Switch 2 Online service. So with Wii being added to the Switch 2 Online service, you can actually play Wii games on a new console because it can actually run Wii games pretty well, as it's a lot more powerful than the OG Switch. But since the majority of the Wii games involve using motion control for the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, as well as the pointer for the Wii Remote, they're also gonna emulate the Wiimote and Nunchuck with its motion and pointer controls by having both Joy-Cons using motion and the right Joy-Con being used as a pointer. But for some Wii games that don't involve motion controls, such as Mario Kart Wii and Super Smash Bros. Brawl, you can just use a Pro Controller or Joy-Cons to emulate the Wii Classic Controller. Or a GameCube controller, that is if you connect your GameCube controller to your Switch 2. Then it will register the GameCube controller for some Wii games that support the controller. The Wii Switch 2 online service will be out in September 2027, and you can look forward to playing some old school Wii games on a new console, such as Super Mario Galaxy 2, Super Paper Mario, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Mario Kart Wii, and more. Coming up next is a Super Mario Maker 3. Now, just like with Mario Kart and Smash Bros., a new Mario Maker would come out once per console generation. So Mario Maker 3 would definitely be a thing in the future. It'd be a shame if they'd honestly forgotten about Mario Maker and just not make a third one. But yeah, I could see Mario Maker 3 coming out on November 2027. It will also have Mario Wonder as the new game style. The last first-party Switch 2 game to come out in 2027 is Luigi's Mansion 4, and will take place in a haunted cruise, coming out in December 2027.
Wow, sorry.
2028. The year has started off strong with a new Yoshi game. It will come out on February 2028, and this new Yoshi game is a spiritual successor of Yoshi's Crafted World. Just like with that game being a spiritual successor of Woolly World, not a sequel. Coming up next is a Xenoblade Chronicles 4. Now originally, it was gonna come out in late 2027, but due to increased development time, they had to delay it to 2028. The game will see its light of day on April of 2028. Sorry Xenoblade X fans, I know you were kinda hoping for Xenoblade X to show up on this list, but I promise you that I'll get to that in a moment. Next on the list is a brand new Fire Emblem game. Now ever since Awakening, we have been getting a new Fire Emblem game every 3 or 4 years. But for the next Fire Emblem game, the reason why I had to wait until it releases in 2028 is due to the extended development time. And this new Fire Emblem game will mark a 5-year gap between Engage and this new game. Just like with the gap between Radiant Dawn and Awakening, with 5 years between, if you don't count remakes as actual Fire Emblem games. By the way, Radiant Dawn is amazing though, and I played the heck out of it on my Steam Deck. So my point here is that the longest gap between mainline Fire Emblem games is 5 years, if not counting remakes. Then up next, we're gonna see a brand new Paper Mario game. This time not a remake, a brand new Paper Mario game. And it will also come out in 2028, meaning that every Paper Mario game has came out every 4 years. But if you're not counting the Thousand Year Door remake, then the longest gap between main Paper Mario games would be 8 years, with Origami King in 2020 and the next one in 2028. 2029. The year will start off very strong with a brand new open world Zelda game. And no, it's not a direct sequel to Tears of the Kingdom, since Eiji Aonuma stated that it will not be a Tears of the Kingdom sequel. It will take place in an entirely different world of Hyrule. But what I can say is that it will be a massive open world game, even bigger than Breath of the Wild, but not as big as Tears of the Kingdom. But yes, there will still be underground sections in this new Zelda game. And what better way to get hyped for 2029 by having a new Metroid game? That's right, we're getting a Metroid 6, which is a sequel to Metroid Dread. While the new open world Zelda game will come out on May of 2029, Metroid 6 will be a holiday title to wrap up the year and to wrap up the decade as a whole. It will be one of the last Switch 2 games to come out in the 2020s decade before transitioning to the 2030s decade. Also in 2029, we're gonna see the release of 3DS Switch 2 Online. That's right, you can play 3DS games on the Switch 2 online service, since the Switch 2 is powerful enough to run 3DS games. Don't know about Wii U though. And just like what I said about DS Switch 2 Online, the touchscreen for the 3DS will be emulated. However, this time, you'll have to use gyro controls to aim the pointer at the touchscreen, since the new 3DS models have a C-stick, which can be emulated with the right stick. That is, if you're playing in docked mode. Or you can simply touch the bottom screen if you're playing in handheld mode. Imagine playing Super Mario 3D Land or Mario Kart 7 on the Switch 2 Online service. That would be amazing. 2030. 2030 will finally see the release of the long-awaited Pikmin 5. That's right, this time it's not another 10-year wait like the gap between Pikmin 3 and 4. This would only be a 7-year wait between Pikmin 4 and 5. And like I said in one of my previous videos where I talked about what Pikmin 5 will be like, the game will be split into 3 parts, and we're getting brown and orange Pikmin. I'm not gonna go full in detail since I already made a video about Pikmin 5, so go check it out if you haven't done so already. 2030 will also see the release of a Xenoblade Chronicles X remaster, now in 4K. It will be called Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. And yes, it is one of the only Wii U games not to get ported to Switch, but it will be remastered on the Switch 2 in 4K, which is a lot better than porting it to Switch, since I don't think the OG Switch could run Xenoblade X pretty well. And there you have it. Those are my predictions for Switch 2 games that will come out during the console's first 5 years. Now the Switch 2 will definitely be backwards compatible with OG Switch games. Like for example, you can play Breath of the Wild on the new console and also Super Mario Odyssey in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Literally the entire Switch library is fully backwards compatible with the Switch 2 console. And I sure hope that it's not another Wii U failure. And boy did that console fail. And after making this video, chances are this will age really badly as the years go on because of the recent leaks about upcoming games. But if it ages badly, which it most likely will, I will sell my soul to Nintendo just to buy a whole bunch of games along with the Switch 2 console. And that's it, y'all. Make sure to like this video and subscribe if y'all enjoyed this video. Help me reach 6K, please.